What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the NBA Slate Starter podcast. I'm here joined by my buddy Pete as we break down Mondays. How many games is it?
A lot.
I don't even know. I think it's 9. 9 is the number. I always kind of set it up to Ryan where he always does like this thing with his hands now. It was not a part of season 1, but then it's fun to see him like try to put up the right number. He always kind of screws it up, but you just be you. You're crushing the game. Pete, we got Pete the Heat Rogers here alongside us talking some NBA. I'm stoked. First time ever doing a show with him. Let's make it the NBA Slate Starter podcast. How you doing, my guy?
What's going on, brother? I really appreciate you having me. These were fun during your absence, and congratulations on getting married. That was awesome. I know that was some time ago now, but yeah, it was fun filling in for you, and I'm excited to talk some NBA with you.
At least you didn't go like the waka waka joke that I get from EMAC every time about, oh, my condolences. Or, again, EMAC's a man of the people. He's running for office in 2024. He's only ever congratulated me. But other people, I'm loving marriage so far. So far, so good. 1 month in, famous last words. But we're going to continue on. We got a lot of NBA to talk about. But before we get there, of course, you are the MMA guy. I've been watching you forever here on streams here at Awesemo, and you just crush in those streets. Obviously, you're an MMA guy yourself, but was yesterday one of the wilder cards you've ever seen, and why is the answer yes?
Yeah, it definitely was. It was extremely memorable. It was just an exciting card. So the skill level of every fight was top tier, and I think that's what really makes a card is you can have some exciting cards that really, overperform and exceed expectations. This exceeded expectations, but was also some of the best fighters in the world. So, and you had some of the craziest upsets. So like Amanda Nunes, losing her crown essentially to Juliana Pena, one of the biggest upsets in history. I would put that right up there with Holly Holm and Ronda Rousey. I mean, and you talk about Matt Serra and GSP, like it's up there as one of the craziest upsets. And it's just a crazy fight game, man, and nothing really surprises me, but at the same time it does. I know how this game is, and you can't count anybody out.
Yeah, you can't really. And I like that this wasn't like a Rousey injury situation for Nunes. I mean, she didn't look like, I think she just got beat. So I think I kind of prefer that than a fighter coming in suboptimal where maybe they shouldn't have been giving it a go. I know Rousey in her camp, it sounds like she was injured going into that home fight, and then she was really injured coming out of that home fight. So it was just wild to see all of that. And obviously, a couple things go your way. Sean O'Malley's still my boy. I still love that man until my dying day. He's a monster, the craziest human being on planet Earth, which is weird when you're saying that an MMA person is crazy because you're all crazy in some kind of a capacity. You have to be in order to do what you do. But again, that's why we all love the MMA game. It's just another world, and Sean O'Malley is in it. But let's get to some NBA. I know that's what we're here to talk. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell as we get going here. The word of the day is COVID, and it is everywhere here because it's going to dictate the slate. Not that we're going to be talking about that, but we're going to be talking about health and safety protocols because everybody seems to be in it. We also have guys on back-to-backs. We have a number of ways to go, but we go DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo. Our sponsor, Yahoo, thank you so much to them. We're going to go position by position like we always do. You ready to get going, Pete?
Absolutely, brother.
That's right. Okay, to the point guard and shooting guard position at the top end. Steph Curry, 11-4. People keep just ridiculously putting in YouTube chat. I think it's one of those things in YouTube chat on NBA Live before lock where people could just say anything and get away with it. Oh, Steph Curry's going to break the 3-point record tonight. Next night. Oh, Steph Curry's going to definitely make 10 threes against his brother in Philly. No, Matisse Thybulle exists and said, no. You are not doing that here. 11-4 against Indiana. I'm going to go out on a limb here now and say he makes 6 3-pointers and breaks Ray Allen's record here in this spot because I don't see Malcolm Brogdon or anybody there in Indiana sticking with a Steph Curry here. So there you go. Finally, first time I will throw it out there. I think he breaks the record. Doesn't matter. I'm probably not playing him at that tag. Paul George looks like he's going to be out. He's listed as doubtful for this game. So we're going to go accordingly, thinking that he's going to be out here for the Clippers as we talk about them. Reggie Jackson at the guard position. Number of other guys that we can go to. Trae Young, 10-3. Kind of a luxury item here on this slate. Jalen Brown looks like he's good to go and be back in the mix here for Boston because they really need him. They've looked atrocious for a week and a half without him. And Fred VanVleet, 9K. I'm not going to lie. Tapa guard looks gross. Anybody that really stands out for you?
I mean, I kind of fall into that trap with Curry where I want to be a part of history. And I definitely want to have him in my lineups the night that he does break the record. But I feel like this definitely is in the wheelhouse of possibility. So I like Steph Curry here at 11-4. Obviously, that's a rich price tag, but the rest of the options kind of scare me a little bit, to be honest. You have Trae Young in an awesome matchup, but also how much will he really be needed in a matchup like that? So soft. Um, I kind of like the motivated factor of Curry at the top. I'll have to
All
take a
right.
look at ownership, obviously, to really dictate my next move. But man, if talking about Jalen Brown for the Celtics have looked terrible, and I'm
Horrible.
I'm definitely not rostering Jalen Brown at 9,100. I'm going to take a wait and see approach to that, just because they just look disconnected, and I don't really like the matchup. I know that they're going to be at home, but against Milwaukee, I feel like there are some better options to target, especially just given all the uncertainties there. Fred VanVleet, it's a little expensive for him at 9,000, but I like the matchup there. And you have a team that is somewhat dying of offensive production in any given night. With
Mhm.
the Precious Achua going to be out for this, Pascal Siakam couldn't really hit a shot in his last time out there. I think that Fred VanVleet really can, facilitate and actually lead this team to a victory here. And at 9,000, I'm okay with getting to him. But I agree with you. The top end, all in all, this entire slate, I was like really just disappointed with it. It seems like expensive price tags, bad matchups, and just uncertainty throughout. Obviously, the Charlotte news was something that we're going to have to really pay attention to, because if
Mhm.
some people are going to be activated, I definitely want to get off of some and start to really implement some of them into my lineups. But we'll have to really see with that.
Yeah, that's also a wait and see an approach.
Mhm.
The nice thing about having Jalen Brown back in the mix is I don't have to try to make this Schroeder and Marcus Smart
Oh
garbage
God.
work in my lineups anymore. Amen to that. We'll talk more about them on FanDuel because it's more advantageous to try to make them a thing. Because
Mm.
Josh Richardson, I believe, there are so many guys in health and safety protocols that I don't even know what to tell you here at a certain point. But Josh Richardson looks like he's definitely going to be out here for this one as well. So that's only like 17, 18 minutes that you're replacing in this spot. So not nearly as good as, Jalen Brown out there. He did play 30 minutes last game for Josh Richardson. But as I said, you get Jalen Brown, that's a way bigger difference maker than a Richardson. In terms of the way everybody else looks. Thank God we don't have to roster them as much. Kelly Oubre, all the way up to 8,400. And yet, depending on what is going to happen, it's still a guy that it's just been on fire in a lot of terms. And I'm not talking, something where we're trying to target a heat streak or something, but 40 plus minutes of production at 8,400 for a guy who is over a fantasy point per minute producer in all situations over the course of the last 3-4 years here. Oh my God. Have there been 3 touchdowns in like 2 minutes towards the end of this quarter? It's 24-21 and it's not at halftime. I
I
turned
don't
it
even.
off to
Yeah.
focus on this. This is the
I
dumbest shit ever. What is happening? I
I
hate
I
this
I
game.
did
Football
not
was
even want to
dumb
pay
today.
attention to it, brother, because it was just one of those days. And you get some weird people scoring touchdowns and some weird things happening. I was like, okay, on to the Slate Starter podcast.
Defense is not made for DFS. It's not. It's
Facts.
not. There we go. Thank you. See, I knew we were going to get along. This is great. To the mid range, we go. Tyus Jones looks like a guy. Desmond Bain looks like a guy. They're both guys that exist in the world, but I also think that they're rosterable here in this spot for Memphis. I think they're going to be decent enough values here. They're in that mid range. We'll see if the slate ends up kind of getting Starsy and Scrubsy, but without Morant, even with Dylan Brooks back in the mix, if you get Jiren Jackson there off the floor, he's questionable for this game. That's a lot of usage, a lot of productivity available. Any interest in Memphis guards here?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been going to them throughout the year, especially without John Morant. They seem somewhat underpriced at any given night, and they're aggressive offensively, and they can stuff the stat sheet. I have no problem getting to them. It depends on how my roster construction is going. But yeah, I like Memphis. I understand that they're not the best, defensive team, but they can go out there and fill some of the shoes of John Morant and some of these other players that are missing, especially with Jiren Jackson Jr. probably not going to play, I would imagine. That this team's going to be desperate, and I have no problem getting to them. Jalen Brunson's interesting to me at 5,800 without Doncic. I haven't checked, but heading into this podcast, he was somewhat disappointing, and that was a shock to me. But his price tag's fair. He really steps up without Doncic, and he does lead this team whenever Doncic is trying to take a backseat role to anything. So I like Brunson here at 5,800. Somebody I'll be looking to. If you want to get a little cheaper and a player that has really kind of shocked me, it's Armani Brooks for Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Houston's a disaster, but cheap enough. Has 2 back-to-back games where he's three where he's scored 36, 35, and 30 fantasy points. He's scoring at a decent clip of 14 points, 21, 18 points, and also stuff in the stat sheet elsewhere. So I don't mind him as a cheap play if you really need to just fill him in there. But yeah, the mid tier here is something I'll probably dive into and try to spend up in some other positions, but there are definitely tons of options.
Yeah, Armani Brooks, let's just hope to God that he starts this time out. I think a lot of people might have hit eject when they shouldn't have. DJ Augustine with the least productive 27 minutes in the history of basketball, putting up his 5 fantasy points. Shout out Texas Longhorns. Good job, buddy. You suck. Go home. But whatever. I definitely like Garrison Matthews as well in that same spot. 4,500 for him. Brooks 4,800. But Eric Gordon back in the mix here this game. I think that should take DJ Augustine off the floor. I think I'm just going to give all of those minutes the DJ played, give them to Eric Gordon. And I think Armani Brooks probably has a good chance of being back in this starting lineup. I like him. I think he's a decent enough piece for them. And, they had rattled 6, 7 in a row before losing their last 2. And Armani Brooks, definitely a nice piece there. But as you said, Jalen Brunson will be the most popular player on the slate. I don't think there's any question. 1,800 on a back-to-back. So long as he has a pulse coming off of this game today and 2 healthy legs, knock on wood, I guess. But Jalen Brunson, 5,800. No doubt about it. That's where I'm leaning as well. I think all of those pieces alone give you some opportunity to get up to Giannis and Joker. And we will be talking. I like how I said Joker because that's how it comes out after you say Giannis. Joker, good Lord. Making a great first impression. Let's jump on over to the FanDuel slate here. Point guard, shooting guard, looking at it there. Obviously, Doncic out. Steph Curry, 10-3, your most expensive guard. Trae Young, 9,900. And then it drops off to Chris Paul being the next point guard available there. Bradley Beal, 8,300 there for him. That price keeps dropping and dropping because he no longer goes for any kind of massive upside games, it would seem like, alongside Spencer Dinwiddie. It's one of the stranger phenomenons of the season, but such is life. I really think Chris Paul will be super popular, and he should be because these Clippers are going to be a huge talking point. We have the most important slate decision we'll have at the center position from Phoenix in the same game. I think you'll want to have a lot of exposure to the late night hammer in some capacity trying to make some of these pieces work. But talk to me about the top end of guard over here on FanDuel because it looks a little bit softer to me.
Yeah, it does to me as well. I like Chris Paul. He seems like a priority for me, and especially being the late night game, you tend to have some leverage over the field in situations like that. So I like Chris Paul there, especially because the Clippers are a different team without Paul George, and I think it's something that Chris Paul can definitely expose. And you talk about Devin Booker not being there; he's going to be needed to step up. So I like him here on this platform a lot. The top end's just a little strange over on FanDuel. Like I would much rather just not even second guess myself and just put Chris Paul in there. Trae Young, 9,900. It's okay, of course, because it's Trae Young. He can go out there and just have a crazy game. But there are some question marks surrounding some of these other point guards. Fred VanVleet still sticks out to me just because he can stuff the stat sheet in so many different ways. He's not too scoring dependent at times. But yeah, so I'd probably look at Chris Paul and Fred VanVleet just to start.
Yeah, and then Kyle Lowry for me, a huge part over there. He's still under 7K for some inexplicable reason, considering he just goes for 40 plus. They absolutely blew the doors off of who did they play the other night? I believe it was Chicago. Hey, I can look things up too because I'm allowed to, so I should have done that. Kyle Lowry, 6,900, a huge talking point of this slate's Tyler Hero, not starting. They've been putting Gabe Vincent in, Max Strus. Tyler Hero kind of falling down a little bit in terms of minutes here. Not really shooting at the same clip he was earlier in the season. So if you can get back on that track, maybe take some shots there in tournaments, but still Kyle Lowry priority, 6,900 against Cleveland. I just don't see any way around it. Gabe Vincent, 4,700 there, played 30 minutes. if they're going to have Caleb Martin out here for health and safety protocols again, you're going to have him. You're going to have Duncan Robinson. He's less intriguing at 4,700 there. He shot the doors off of it. He can do that from time to time. Looking back over on DK's slate, he's 4,300. I still think you can make him work there along with Gabe Vincent, 4,200. So Miami, you have no Jimmy Butler. He's already ruled out. You still have no Bam Adebayo. What are you seeing kind of from the Miami side?
Yeah, I like Kyle Lowry, especially when he starts to get a little bit more aggressive with his shooting because his assist numbers are always strong. But I like it when he's going out there and he's needed to score. Tyler Hero is interesting to me always because of his offensive production, but it seems like he's somewhat taken a back step this year. I don't know, at least the past recent run, it seems like he's just not having that productivity he did a season ago, where he's posting these monster totals. He's still scoring well. It's just he's not really contributing as strong as he used to. Like, I still think he's a solid play, but the pricing on FanDuel for Kyle Lowry just completely sticks out to me. And I wouldn't really overthink it. I'd really like to get to Kyle Lowry on FanDuel.
All right. Yeah, Kyle Lowry just sticks out for me. I'm trying to pull up right now his numbers over the last month because he definitely got off to a ridiculously hot start, even alongside Jimmy Butler there to start off the season. But on the season, still over the last month, Tyler Hero, a 30.7% usage rate here. And that's with Jimmy Butler actually leading the team. When you take Jimmy Butler off the floor, we'll save this as well. I mean, Kyle Lowry, obviously 22.3% usage, but still Tyler Hero with Jimmy Butler off the floor the last month, 30.6% usage. That's kind of surprising to me because he's just been pretty bad offensively. I think for tournaments, it's just, for me, he's a guy that when he's popular, you get off of it coming off the bench. If he were starting, this would be a different conversation because I think you're locked into 36 minutes, but I think they've proven he's going to be a bench guy coming in for Kyle Lowry for that first stint, try to get him going, and then they'll stagger, here and there throughout the game, but be on the floor a little bit more going forward. So just something to look out for. If Tyler Hero sneaks in the starting lineup, I just have more interest for those extra 4 or 5 minutes. Sometimes it doesn't matter for guys like that because they're shooting dependent. They're going to play 30 minutes usually most of the time anyway, but just throwing that out there. And then Cody Martin, he's eternally the most underpriced play on FanDuel. He's 5,200. They just don't want to price up Charlotte guys in the absolute best spots here on every single slate. But it looks like Terry Rozier is going to be back 7,800, but I'm just going to wait on the ball news. I know Rozier is going to matter, but 5,200 for a guy that I see playing a lot of minutes here still. Cody Martin interest alongside Luke Kennard, 5,200. I think both of them make a lot of sense, as well as Armani Brooks, 4,900. Anybody cheaper here on FanDuel for you?
Yeah, so I like the Cody Martin call. Obviously, we want to see the Charlotte news, who's activated, who's not going to be. But I still think that he's just criminally underpriced forever. And it's because he's not the most appealing and most exciting player to roster, but he's serviceable and outproduces his salary pretty frequently. So I like him here. I really do like Luke Kennard, though. I think that without Paul George, it just makes a ton of sense. You have seen Kennard step up in the absence of Paul George, and that has somewhat coincided with Bledsoe struggling. So I really do like Luke Kennard as another cheaper play to get to on all platforms.
I apologize to Greg Ehrenberg, but Eric Bledsoe just effing sucks. He's terrible at this point in time. Luke Kennard, 5,200, like him. Terrence Mann started alongside him there as well. 35 minutes of him the other night, 5,400. The thing is, there's all these little clippers that can kind of come in. Brandon Boston as well. Brandon Boston, 25 minutes, 39.4 FanDuel points. I mean, he's like the deepest of deep flyers. I would much rather try to play anybody else, but I suppose if you got into a share or two out of 150, I wouldn't completely hate it. Yeah, actually, you know what? I take that back. I would hate it. Don't play Brandon Boston in anything other than Showdown. But here we go to Yahoo to round it out. Our sponsor, Yahoo, on the top end of guard. Luka Doncic out. Steph Curry, $46. Trae Young, $42. Chris Paul, $35. Whoa, that's a nice number on Chris Paul. So when we're talking about a $10 floor over on Yahoo, a $200 budget, something like Steph Curry, $46, he's almost 25% of your entire cap out of an 8-person lineup. Not my favorite spot for that. Something like Chris Paul looks really nice there at the $35 number. Kyle Lowry, $29. I think that really makes sense as well. And then Tyrese Halliburton, $23. Sacramento going up against Toronto here again. They can play with pace. He's definitely shown some upside here. $23, a decent enough tag where if he's going to be low owned, which I kind of expect next to Desmond Bane at $21, who's going to be super popular. Reggie Jackson's going to be super popular at $20. And Jalen Brunson, the most popular player on the slate at $19. Get a really, really, really weird with somebody like Tyrese Halliburton. What do you think about him and anybody else on Yahoo for you?
Yeah, I think the Tyrese Halliburton is an interesting pivot to some of those other, close players. And it does make sense because Halliburton a season ago seems like a different player. Just the Kings in general just seemed a little strange this year. You had De'Aaron Fox struggling for a little bit. That probably coincided with the coaching change. But Halliburton definitely has a high ceiling. And whenever you can get him at low ownership or when people are not on him at all, I do like that because he has a higher ceiling than a lot of these guys within this range. It makes a ton of sense. The Jalen Brunson, it seems like an automatic all platforms. Everybody's going to be on him. But there are some nights where Tim Hardaway will step up a little bit. You have Kristaps Porzingis step up in the absence of Doncic. And Brunson doesn't always provide that extreme productivity. So it's okay to get off the chalk and get a little bit different. So I do like what you're saying there about Halliburton.
Yeah, it's just paying up for a ceiling and low ownership. If you don't have low ownership, you absolutely should not be playing Tyrese Halliburton at a more expensive number than those guys. But I'm just assuming that because you just get a feel for those kind of things as you go through the years and the days of playing this game. It's just the way that this works out. People aren't going to be there. They're going to be down here to the likes of Armani Brooks at $12, Gabe Vincent at $12. I mean, there's a huge opportunity cost at guard, specifically point guard, over on this side as well. Tyus Jones at $19. Lots of ways to go. Luke Kennard, $11. I'm just kind of going through a number of these plays that you have. Be very, very selective with your point guard spots over on Yahoo because they are at a premium here. You can play up to 3. I would be playing 3, it looks like, in a lot, even though generally the center position is where I land playing multiple. But I think because of the luxury item that's Nikola Jokich, that's probably going to be my sole center in a lot of these. I'll be punting, looking at some spots. But Halliburton, that's the kind of guy that can put a 50-plus and win you a tournament out of the middle of nowhere at 2%. So throwing him into the mix, you know what? This is my favorite part because you've never seen this shtick before. Hey, Pete, you ready for something cool?
Yes, sir.
Boom! New Yahoo users. Look at this. Get 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum with your first time deposit. So check this out. You deposit $10 or more if you're a new user. If you've never tried out Yahoo, go open an account. Check this thing out. Put $10 or more, play in any contest, the quarter, the dollar, the $20 that they have on Sundays with $200 or $200K, in overlay, $1 million contest with $200K in overlay. That's negative 25% management fee or rake, whatever you want to call it. They're putting money into your pocket to go play on Yahoo. That's reason number 1 you need to go. But the second reason is because you get 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum along with it. You get everything, not just NBA, but NFL as well, MMA. Pete's running those streets over there. You can check out all of his great work behind the paywall as well. You can see everything for NHL and Jake Hari, the side that he's pulling here for Awesemo. I'm telling you right now, best tools and content in the industry, bar none. Best data available, whether it's the top fighters tool, the top stacks tool for NFL, the boom bust tool for the NBA. There are so many great features that can be available to you for free just by trying out the best site you can play on, best bang for your buck in Yahoo. Check them out. Stop guessing, start winning. Join Awesemo Plus today, but specifically join Yahoo because it doesn't get a whole lot easier than that. See, that's fun. I enjoy those things. This is how it's done. This is how we do it in the pros. Oh, Happy learned how to putt. Here we go. To the forward position we go. Giannis is 11-6 on the top end going up against Boston. I just keep playing an infinite amount. It was so nice to get him at a discount when he put up his nice 79.25 at like 10% the other night. I believe that was on Friday. Yes, it was Friday. I know because I was very profitable. I was not profitable on Saturday. I continue on. Paul George going to be out here. So you got a big gap here. Domantas Sabonis starting to ball out here. Starting to see a surplus of minutes. Starting to see a little bit more in the rebounding way. It's going to be tough against Golden State here, a team that's number 1 in offensive and defensive efficiency so far. I don't know what to tell you. Golden State's really, really good at basketball. But if you're going to be running back any kind of Steph, if you want to go up for 2 studs that people aren't going to be on a whole lot, maybe they're on Steph because of the narrative. But Domantas Sabonis at 9,700 isn't going to get a lot of love. I might have to go that direction here. It looks a lot different here. Looks like he's getting a longer leash. I don't want to be locking in too many guys early in the night at the 7 p.m. Eastern time spot, but have you noticed Sabonis playing better of late, and any interest that you would join me in that play?
Yeah, I always plug in Sabonis. Like I really like him. I'm not going to say he's matchup proof, but I think that it's okay to get to him, especially if it's a little contrarian. Obviously not the matchup that we want, but I just love Domantas Sabonis. I think that his production could also be a result of Miles Turner slightly voicing frustrations as well within the organization. So hey, Sabonis is on the good side of the coach right now, and you are seeing that. So I'm okay with it. All he's ever needed is more minutes and more opportunity. And when he's allowed more minutes and opportunity, you do see production. I like him here. Obviously, Giannis at the top all day, every day. Don't even overthink it. Um, Outside of those two, it starts to get a little interesting for me, but it really comes down to Pascal Siakam and Kristaps Porzingis as two forwards that I'm interested to getting to, just because Porzingis, in the absence of Luka Doncic, definitely steps up and is capable of popping off for 50 points all day long. And Pascal Siakam coming off an extremely disappointing outing where he went 3 of 18 from the field against the Knicks and still put up 37 fantasy points because he had 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 block. Yeah, I like him here at 8,500. I think it's a soft matchup. And, without Precious Achua, I like him even more. So if you're not going to go the contrarian route with Domantas Sabonis, Pascal Siakam's like in my top 3.
I like that call. I think him and he'll get him at lower rostership, I think, than getting to somebody like Kristaps tomorrow. If Kristaps plays on the back-to-back. So that is an actual if. Maxi Kleba already played 30 minutes tonight. I'm going through their box score now in order to kind of talk a little bit more intelligently about what we saw in the absence of Luka Doncic, but we saw a massive 11-man rotation. I'm guessing that was to kind of take a little bit of the minutes off the top of the likes of Brunson, Porzingis, Finney Smith. Finney Smith played really, really well in that game, added 3 steals, 2 blocks as well to 8, 6, and 5. So, legitimately, there are a lot of ways you can go with Dallas. Going up against Charlotte, too. We've seen these kind of shootout games Charlotte's kind of been subject to. It makes sense. They are going to be tired if you're playing 40 a night, even in the NBA, especially if you're playing 40 a night in the NBA. But it doesn't look like they played enough minutes, I think, to necessarily shy away. They handled Oklahoma City pretty thoroughly. So I'm thinking maybe he does play, but just to throw it out there, Kleba played 30 minutes anyway. I think no matter what, he's somebody that you're going to find better value than him, but he could be that 1 or 2% guy that legitimately nobody, and I mean nobody, is going to talk about. So I always get to a little bit of him there. He's sub 4K, so I'll make my mistakes cheap. I'll try to make him a little bit of a thing. And then, of course, if Kristaps is out, you're just jamming all of those guys.
Yeah.
Rest of the forward position, I really liked what we talked about already with Cody Martin, but he's more expensive. 6,500, he's up there. PJ Washington, he's questionable now with that same illness that isn't COVID. So he's 6,600. He would be a smash play if he can give it a go there. Will Barton, really the other piece that ended up randomly after being sick there a couple times. He didn't end up playing last time out now. I don't really know what to mine out of this Denver situation if he's out. I didn't really know what to mine out of it last time. I mean, there was really nowhere to get to salary. Davon Reed ended up in the starting lineup, played 17 minutes at 3,100. I don't think he's that appealing, but Aaron Gordon, 6,300, starting to play a little bit of a different role in the absence of Michael Porter Jr., some of these other guys. Have you been rostering any Aaron Gordon and any interest whatsoever at this number?
Yeah, man. Gordon's pretty frustrating for me. And he's serviceable, and serviceable is fine. But sometimes you need people to really outperform their salaries, and that's few and far between for Gordon. The nights have been there, but it seems like it's not the nights that I'm rostering him. And it's okay.
So true.
I think that Gordon can have success. It's a matter of playing second fiddle to Jokich, and everybody's going to play second fiddle to Jokich. It's just trying to contribute in other areas, setting Jokich up, grabbing rebounds, facilitating a little bit, because I always go back to when he was in Orlando, when he had success, just being different, especially for his position, being big, being able to just do so many different things. You would like the ceiling of a guy like this, but I will say that he's a little inconsistent, but he has a safe floor night to night. You're probably going to get like 25, 30 points. It's just, can he really outproduce that? Matchup dependent. Okay. If Barton's out, I like him a lot more, obviously. And against Washington without Kyle Kuzma, you have to think that there could be some opportunity there for Gordon to really contribute.
I love that. 6,300. It's not the best price tag on planet Earth, but there are going to be games he's starting to put up 40 plus, depending on how this slate kind of looks. 6,100 on FanDuel is going to be a little bit more intriguing, but even at 6,300 there, in the absence of all of these studs that they have there, obviously Joker's still there, so he's going to be the catalyst of everything. Aaron Gordon is going to start having some ceiling games. I do feel that coming in the very near future. I feel it coming, babe. I feel it coming, babe. Ja Morant, Brandon Clark off the floor over the course of the last month. I'm looking at Memphis right now. Jiren Jackson Jr., 1.26 DraftKings points per minute. I think looking at this Memphis situation, we've talked about him. I think at 7,300, you can still definitely play him. You just pray he keeps his hands to himself, sits, and just does Jiren Jackson things that he does, blocks, steals, puts up a bunch of usage there as well. But Kyle Anderson is second on the team over the course of the last month in terms of fantasy points per minute, 1.11 given. It's only 85 minutes with Ja Morant and Brandon Clark off the floor, but that was pretty surprising to me. I think there's going to be something to mine out of this Memphis situation. 5,300 for Kyle Anderson looks wrong. It looks terrible, but he played 31 minutes. If he's in that starting unit for Jiren Jackson, I know people might shy away because it looks inflated. I'm not sure how it's going to project at Awesemo, but I can tell you right now, I just did a loose projection. 30 minutes of him right now at 1.11, he is going to project out as one of my favorite forward plays of the day in the absence of Jiren Jackson. Would you have any interest in joining me on Kyle Anderson?
100%. And the reason is because Memphis is going to be somewhat depleted. They already are, but you're talking about if Jiren Jackson's out, okay, well, somebody needs to step up in a situation like that. And not necessarily to fill the same exact role of Jiren Jackson, but just to really provide some offensive spark. You talk about Steven Adams, doubtful coming into this as well. So this team's going to have to get a little bit different with their lineup. And who has been a guy to step up in the absence of all these plagued players? It's Kyle Anderson when push comes to shove some nights, and the salary is pretty aggressive. And if you're really box score watching, you're seeing, well, he's been floating in the 4,000 range. Now he's 5,300. That seems completely overpriced. And on a normal slate, yes, I would say so. But if Memphis does have some inactive players like we're suspecting, I think it's a contrarian take that a lot of people will probably think it's an ugly take. They don't want to be bold and take them. So I'm okay with getting to Kyle Anderson. And I don't even know if I really need him to start in order to get behind him. Playing on the second unit could actually be a little bit more beneficial. He's not really competing with too much usage in a situation like that. He's able to really just handle everything himself. I like Kyle Anderson here at 5,300 for a contrarian take.
All right. I love that too. Killian Tilly, he's going to be 3,100. He's going to probably project around 20 minutes. He's played 17 the last two, but you get Adams, you get Jiren Jackson Jr. off the floor. Two big ifs, just making sure with the Jiren Jackson one specifically, Adams doesn't look like is going to be giving it a go here. So we're looking at Xavier Tillman being a big part of that center rotation, but the guy that's surprising for me, and I threw this out to Greg Ehrenberg the other day, but the guy who doesn't seem like he's going to be going, or that he's going to be the most popular guy from Memphis. Dillon Brooks, still, his price tag has not moved. He's 6,200. And I'm going to continue to not play this guy because he's under a fantasy point per minute player here. He hasn't played extended past 30 minutes. He's generally guarding the best player on the other side of the floor. Phenomenal. I wouldn't call him a two-way player. He's a 1.5-way player because he's better defensively in such a drastic way. Offensively, he thinks he's the best offensive player on Memphis. So he's going to be out there chucking, and, maybe it ends up burning me. Dillon Brooks, maybe a little bit, but what's kind of your outlook for this guy? Because I expected him to be a lot better in the absence of Ja Morant.
Yeah, a season ago and prior to that, I like Dillon Brooks, but you have seen Desmond Bane, you have seen DeAnthony Melton, all other guys that can somewhat, take that offensive burden off of his shoulders. And Dillon Brooks can go out there and, attach to a player and play strong defense at times. And he's not really needed for that true offensive production, that 3-point skills, because there's other guys that are just as capable. So it's a price point at 6,200 where I feel like it's a little rich. You would imagine that without Ja Morant, that he should be the guy to step up, but it just hasn't been that case this year. So I would agree with you. I know Greg absolutely hates this man. It's like, if
Really
he had
does.
2K, he might even try to delete him off of 2K. So yeah, I don't know, but I'm okay with getting away from him, to be honest.
Dillon Brooks, a 6% rebound rate in the absence of John Morant, Brandon Clark, Steven
Mhm.
Adams over the course of the last month. That is just not what you need out of a guy. I mean, he's very shooting dependent. That's just, I don't know what else to tell you. He had one random game where he had 8 assists against Miami. That is such an outlier. It's ridiculous. He might try to get some stuff involved here or there, but he's generally going out there chucking. You could get 25 real points and get 28 fantasy points out of him. So best of luck to everybody who wants to roster him. I'll probably go elsewhere here. Let's go on over to FanDuel. Top end over there, it's Giannis. We want to play Giannis. You and I are both in that camp. I like that you're in that camp with me. Jason Tatum, 9,600 there. Domantas Sabonis, 8,800. That's starting to get appealing for me. Miles Bridges, 8,500. That's an inflated tag. If Terry Rozier is truly back here, then that's going to be a tough one to get to. Kristaps Porzingis got a nice price bump, 8,500 over on FanDuel, but that's still going to be advantageous. Man, Christian Wood on FanDuel, where you have power forward center. That's really kind of the big change of FanDuel, is being able to play 3 centers now as many times as you want, whereas last year it was pretty prohibitive. You had to be very selective. I'm obsessed with Christian Wood against Atlanta. How about you?
Yeah, I like the dual eligibility. It's something that's a new wrinkle that definitely helps you create lineups, but also, provides some frustration as well, because you did like not having to overthink certain things. I like Christian Wood, a lot. Outside that extremely disappointing one night, he's been pretty serviceable. And it was in a fantastic matchup against OKC where he scored 3 fantasy points. So I know that really frustrated and burned a lot of people, but you have to look at the season in its totality. So I like Christian Wood at this price range. Pascal Siakam, my guy, I like him here at 7,800. Again, I think that he can go out there and have a strong game given the matchup. And in a game where he shot so poorly, he still scored 35 fantasy points over on FanDuel. So given the salary, I do like him a lot.
All right. And the other guy for me here on the top end, Evan Mobley, 7,500, where blocks and steals are worth 3. Yay. Skippy, play Evan Mobley. He just does ridiculous things. This is your rookie of the year, and I don't think it's remotely close. 15-15, 2-1 their last game against Sacramento, 37 minutes. Before that, they'd been in a lot of blowouts. Evan Mobley only played 24 and 31 minutes, but they also just torched Minnesota. They torched, who was the game before? You know what? This is also where I could just look at the box score. Chicago. There we go. Done. 7,100 for him over on DK, 75 on FanDuel. Still going to probably get to more of him. Well, I'll play probably a little bit over on both sides, but wanted to point him out. We talked about the Memphis situation at length. We've talked about Denver a little bit. Jeff Green, not going to be that appealing there. No chance that I'm going to be rostering somebody like that. I'm going to try to make Lauri Markkanen a thing because I'm a sicko, and I'm just going to keep playing him at 5,100 because I don't like money apparently, but I'll try to click on that. Chris Boucher, in the absence of our friend, Precious Achua. He's not our friend. I don't know him at all, but I like his name. It's cool. I like 5K Chris Boucher. It probably makes me a terrible DFS player, but whatever. I still am obsessed with this guy. And if he ever gets that run, he finally closed out a game, got up to 27 minutes and only put up 25.6. If you gave me 27 minutes of him at 5K, I would play 100% of him every single day on FanDuel. How does he look for you on this slate tomorrow?
Yeah, I have Chris Boucher circled as well. I've been a backer of him for a while, and at some points it's extremely volatile. And we have burned money by rostering him plenty of times, but we've seen the upside. We've seen him go out there and have productive nights, and a situation where he can avoid foul trouble. All right, and he can get stronger minutes is music to our ears here at 5,000 on FanDuel. I think that it's an uneasy call, but I do support it and I do like it a lot.
All right. I support it. That's all I needed to hear. I like that very much. This is great simpatico we got going here. I'll have you back tomorrow. How does that sound?
That sounds great, brother. I would absolutely love that.
Awesome. You have to do it anyway, so you're screwed. No matter what, you're here tomorrow. I'm excited. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 57 over on Yahoo. Jason Tatum, 44, with Jalen Brown back. No thanks. Domantas Sabonis, 38. Yeah, I'm going to make that a thing. Kristaps Porzingis, Miles Bridges, we talked about them, as well as Evan Mobley, $31. That gets a little bit fascinating here. Jiren Jackson, circled put it in ink. $26 is just a wrong number in the event that he gives it a go. I want to play all of it over on Yahoo. It would be outrageous. I hope that news comes out really late. I hope we can have all of it and nobody else rosters him and we have him all to ourselves there against Philadelphia. Sure. Is foul trouble a concern? Is he going to have to play the 5 against Embiid? Again, there's no answer for Embiid, and we'll talk about that here at the center position. Memphis, the tallest guy on their team, is not going to be 7 foot. I'll put it that way. No Steven Adams out there. It's going to be brutal. No answer that's going to exist for that. But Aaron Gordon, 21, maybe. Anything that sticks out to you over on Yahoo, it looks pretty consistent to what we talked about earlier on the other 2 sites.
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar for me. The Cleveland bigs are always interesting. From Jared Allen to Evan Mobley to Lauri Markkanen to even Kevin Love some nights. They seem to alternate strong performances. I can't really put my finger on what night they're going to have a good one. But for the most part, the steady constant does seem to be Evan Mobley for the most part. He's a guy that I get to and I'm okay with. It's always tough rostering a rookie, but not really when a rookie's playing like this. So I like Evan Mobley a lot over on that platform. Talked about Pascal Siakam, guys that I'm not really overthinking and I want to get to.
Last guy, Marcus Morris, $15 there. He's going to have to chuck, and I mean chuck, alongside Reggie Jackson to have any kind of a shot here going up against Phoenix. At least they're at home. That's 1+. Everything else is a negative in this spot. I just am praying that Ayton is out. I think that makes everybody very, very intriguing for this game, and there's definitely some late swap edge to it. But let's get over to the center position and round this out. Over starting on DraftKings. Again, we talk about all the players on the front end on DraftKings and apply that to FanDuel, apply that to our sponsor, Yahoo, and then we get out of here. Nikola Jokich, $12,000. I mean, this guy is on another planet. If there's one spend up that you need to be getting to on this slate or pretty much any slate that he appears from now until forever, until he's priced about $14K, it's Nikola Jokic. There's no Michael Porter Jr. There's obviously no Jamal Murray. He's been out for like a year. We have no resistance whatsoever to any amount of usage, any amount of fantasy production. What do you think Nikola Jokic's fantasy point per minute rate is over the course of the last month?
He's been an animal. I would probably say it's probably 1.6 or something similar to that.
Yeah, 1.85. So yeah, that's fine.
Even that more. Good? That's ridiculous.
1.75 over the course of the last calendar month for DraftKings, 1.69 FanDuel, 1.85 Yahoo. I mean, what do you say here? I really have nothing for you. He's outrageous. You should play him if you can get to him. But my premium guy that I want to play alongside him in just about every single lineup I possibly can. And again, Nikola Jokic, Giannis, and Embiid, I don't think you can really viably. I'm going to try and just click on all 3 of them here and see what that leaves you in a lineup, because I have a feeling you're scraping the barrel. Yeah, you'd have to play like legitimately 130-100 guy and then all 3K guys. Not viable, but it would be really fun. I want to play Joel Embiid against Memphis with no Steven Adams. Jiren Jackson Jr., if he's out there, is going to be slap happy, and I'm going to be very worried about him, but I'm going to roster him in absolute bulk like an insane person. Who on planet Earth is going to possibly guard Joel Embiid in this spot? I don't see any center that exists on this roster. It's a bunch of 6'8", 6'7" power forwards, and I say that like Dr. Evil, power forwards that think they are tall. So just saying, all 3 of those guys, I'm going to mix and match Embiid, Giannis, and Jokic in so many different lineups. Who do you prefer between Joker and Embiid?
Yeah, it's Jokic for me. He's matchup proof. He's on a team that has significant injuries. He's not just a rebounder. He's not just a scorer. He can dish it better than, I'd say, probably any big of all time.
Anybody in the NBA.
Yeah, agree. I think regardless of size, position, he's just next level. He's just such a solid contributor. It's Jokic, and I don't even really overthink it. I like how you probably, develop roster construction similar to me, is I try to get as much center and power forward exposure as much as I can. They can fall into stats a lot easier than other positions, in my opinion. And if you can go double center, obviously you have to find your value elsewhere. But it definitely sets you up to have a very strong lineup. But Joel Embiid's in a smash spot, like absolutely smash spot. And I don't really know who's going to guard him here. I'm going to have different combinations as well. I think it's 1A, 1B. And, it's hard to not consider Giannis there either. So the only thing about Boston, they have been absolutely atrocious. It's just that Milwaukee has some other talented parts that can pop off. You like Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, Bobby Portis. Like Giannis doesn't have to shoulder the load all the time, whereas I think Jokic does. I mean, because outside of him, he's relying on Aaron Gordon and Will Barton, two extremely inconsistent guys that have mediocre production sometimes. So it's Jokic for me, then it's Embiid, and then Giannis.
Yeah, Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday are like world-class NBA players. Then I don't care how people view them. Again, we play fantasy, and so we're always kind of looking at the box score and, Christian Wood is better than everybody. Christian Wood is not better than everybody. He's simply a fantastic fantasy basketball player. I think he's really good. I don't think he's like terrible, but like Drew Holiday is a staple of a winning basketball team. Plays both sides of the floor extremely well. In certain situations, you can trust him. Chris Middleton, just a bucket. On any other team, he's a 9K, 9,500 player. That's just kind of the way that I believe that to be true. Or on a lot of teams, I believe he's like a 9K player. But, I mean, you have Giannis, Drew him, Bobby Portis now in the starting unit playing 30-plus minutes. There's a lot of production that gets chopped up, no doubt about it. But Christian Wood, 9,300, less appealing there. I think I'm looking at playing him on FanDuel to get my exposure. Jared Allen, I mean, yeah, he's got 50-plus upside, 8,600, putting up ridiculous block and steal totals every single game. He's had like 5 stocks last game. He had 3 stocks the game before, 2, 2, 2. I mean, it's just ridiculous what this dude is doing on the defensive end to add to his box scores. Clint Capella's there, but I'm going to talk about the most important piece of news we have for the entire slate, and I've saved it here for the very end, so hopefully you've been listening. JaVale McGee. JaVale McGee was the talking point of the last slate for anybody that was paying attention. He ended up being like 10, 12%, and I had like 85 or 90 or something. The guy went completely apeshit in every sense of the word. He is still only 4K. DeAndre Ayton is questionable. In 26 minutes with JaVale McGee, you saw him put up 21 and 15, 48.75 DraftKings points. Again, 4K, he is either the best play on the slate or he's a play you turn into Clippers in the event that you don't get Ayton out. I hope that news comes out as late as humanly possible, like 10 minutes before tip-off. So I have a ton of Ayton jammed in, or sorry, not a ton of Ayton, a ton of JaVale McGee jammed in, and I will plan accordingly and make swaps as I need to. But what do you think about McGee? It's kind of a can't-miss situation, right?
Yeah, I love JaVale McGee, and I really thought, I couldn't believe it when I was looking at my lineups, and he was, I think, 12% owned in my contest. I'm like, what were people doing? Like everybody was just banking on like DeAndre Ayton was going to play.
The same guys were playing Javonte Williams today. That's exactly the same crew of guys. Were just jamming him in at running back without thinking about a 50-50 timeshare. Whereas you and I were playing Melvin Gordon like the Sharps we are, right? Or something like that. I don't know.
Something like shit. That. Yeah, something like that.
Go ahead.
But I was looking at that and I was just completely mind blown. And I'm like, did I miss some news? Is like Ayton actually going to play, or is McGee limited or something like that? And then McGee ended up having like 20 points and I forget what amount of time in like the first quarter. I'm like, oh my gosh, the entire field was just wrong on that. And that's the leverage we talk about. And, having an injured player a part of the late night hammer is some of the best leverage in the world. And if you can really just set yourself up for success of pivoting and late swapping like you and Rinpack do, it's a great method to be profitable in DFS. So I'm going to, plan accordingly, and I'm going to have McGee in plenty of lineups.
And here's the thing. There's a guy named Jalen Smith, and we can do the math. It's so easy. Popcornmachine.net. Use it, utilize it. Great site to go check out. I don't know money on that site or whatever. I'm not in any way affiliated. It's simply just an easy way to watch rotations. You saw 26 minutes for McGee. You saw 22 for Jalen Smith. They completely torched him at the end of the game. I think McGee would play closer to 30 to Jalen Smith's 18 in a close or a game that's remotely close in this spot. I think in like a deep flyer sense, you could play a 3K Jalen Smith and say JaVale McGee is going to play less or he's going to get in foul trouble. McGee in the past on other teams, whether it was Golden State or with the Lakers, he was playing 16, 18 minutes, but he's still a guy who just performs at a ridiculous fantasy point per minute rate here. I will pull it up. 1.54 tops on the entire Phoenix Suns over the course of the last month. Just throwing it out there. The guy is ridiculous if he plays 24 minutes. he's a must-have at 24 minutes. He is you are out of your mind if he plays 28 or 30 minutes. So there you go. That is the spiel of the center position there. Over on FanDuel, it's the exact same thing for me here. 5,200 for him there. At least you have to think about it. Jalen Smith, 4,100. So there's that. But on FanDuel, where you can only play one center, I think there is an opportunity cost of a 70-point ceiling from Jokich, from Joel Embiid, 10-5 for him there, so $900 difference, savings off of Nikola Jokic. There's a 65 burger waiting there for him as well. So at least there's two other studs that you can jam, and maybe you don't have to think about that McGee news as much, or you can play power forward / centers Jalen Smith over there, because again, McGee you can only play at center. But anyway, what is really standing out to you at the top end of center on FanDuel?
Yeah, I like what you said there is because of the platform, you have to be a little bit more careful and try to plan accordingly. And you can't really just jam in as many centers as you want and power forwards like you can over on DraftKings. It just makes it a little bit more difficult because of the one center. So I have a hard time getting away from 60, 70 points. So I will probably end up paying at the top. Obviously, it's Jokic, then it's Embiid for me. And then the mid-range is just a little not mediocre. It's okay. It's serviceable. But if I'm going to take a chance on somebody in the 6,000 range, I'd rather, actually go down and end up, targeting a cheaper player and getting to a JaVale McGee. But for me, it's the top or it's JaVale McGee. Nothing in the middle. I'll let other people take shots on that. If they pop, that's okay. I really want that 60, 70-point performance from either one of those studs.
I legitimately might only play 3 true centers. I'm sure I'll have some power forwards that mix into it, but legitimately on FanDuel, it's Joker, it's Embiid, it's McGee. And we're going to head to our sponsor, Yahoo, where it's probably the most prevalent piece of news on planet Earth. $14 for JaVale McGee over there. Yeah, absolute smash. You play him alongside Joker at $56 and you move on with your day. It's really as simple as that. You can go do grocery shopping. You can do some Christmas shopping. We all have that to do. I haven't done a damn thing. Sorry, honey. But anyway, there's that.
Same.
We've got, you haven't done any yet either?
No, don't say it too loudly either. No,
you have a significant, blink twice if you need help on Amazon. There we go. So we'll talk. Yeah. So everybody put below what you think Pete the Heat should be getting for his lovely lady there, right down there. Throw it down into that comment section. Very important topic. So please, all helps is appreciated. Christian Wood, $33. Pascal Siakam, $33. Our boys are both really nicely priced there. Again, I just really find it hard to give up 55, 60 plus guaranteed. It feels like from one of those two in Joker and Embiid. So best of luck to everybody else involved. But Bobby Portis sitting there at $27. We're starting to get into territory where 30 plus minutes of Bobby Portis there in that spot looks really nice, even alongside Giannis, alongside Middleton, alongside Holiday. We just know that he can produce. $27 seems doable still. I will try to make a little bit of that a thing, but anything else that sticks out to you big time over on Yahoo to round this out?
Yeah, I mean, it's the top again. The Bobby Portis, I love getting to Bobby Portis, but it would be more slate dependent for me, especially when you have, some amazing options at the top. It's just so hard to pass up on 70 points. Yes, these other players can get there, but the likelihood of these top options getting there is just like 90% of the time for what they've been doing this year. And, it just makes things so much easier. It's less of a sweat. It might have a more chalky build, but I'm okay with that. Free square for the center position and getting different elsewhere. That's where I think that you'll really separate yourself from the field.
Agreed. Oh my goodness. That was a crazy, crazy slate. 9 games. We went for over 50 minutes. Again, this is Pete and I's first time doing a show. I knew we were going to go long. We always go long on Sunday nights. Ryan and I do, because you're kind of either recapping the weekend or you're talking NFL and the garbage football game. Well, actually, it's a fantastic football game, it sounds like, but I don't care. I hate both teams. So, yeah, this was fantastic. I was so glad to be able to do a show finally with Pete. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hit that like button. Give us a 5-star review over on the NBA Slate Starter stream or over on the podcast feed as well. Very important. We're going to start building our base there, and we're also going to start doing giveaways very shortly. So it is advantageous to you just as much as it's advantageous to us. But Pete, any final words for the people?
No, I just want to say thanks for the support, guys, and from the support for the MMA shows. You guys have been excellent. You guys have been great. We truly appreciate it. And Eric, thank you for having me on, the Slate Starter podcast. I absolutely love it. This was fun. We'll be back tomorrow. I cannot wait to break that down with you. But yeah, we're going to have to be, mindful of all this news that's going to come out. And I'm excited to see how the slate shapes out.
As am I, my guy. Really, really enjoyed it. Guys, he's Pete the Heat Rogers. He almost played Pena yesterday. I'm Eric Lindquist. I had 0%. We'll see you later.